Trump's bribe force one is on its way to his clutches, but in the way of that, you do need some renovations, okay? So Qatar gave him this massive plane, the biggest bribe in world history, but it's not ready to go. It needs some work done. Now, how much is that going to cost? The Pentagon is refusing to say, and at least as of right now, you don't get to know. It's likely gonna cost hundreds of millions, if not $1 billion or more, for him to take this little bribe and get it flight worthy, and you don't get to find out about it. Now, bear in mind, he gets to keep the plane. He does not need to pay for any of these additions and security precautions or anything. But there is a theory as to how much it's gonna cost. There's apparently a mysterious $934 million transfer of funds that went from an area of the Pentagon that was like for out of over budget projects, the modernization of nuclear missiles. It's now been transferred to a new area. And it seems as if that's where the money will come from for the renovations. And that is potentially a very large amount of money. And so congressional budget sleuths have come to think that that amount, which was slipped into an obscure Pentagon document sent to Capitol Hill as a transfer, almost certainly includes the renovation of the new Air Force One. It's not clear if the entire transfer will be devoted to stripping the new Air Force One back to its airframe, which will be necessary to look for listening devices or other things that technologically could potentially sabotage it. But it could potentially go into it. And the crazy thing about it is, Trump is desperate to get this thing renovated as fast as possible, which means it will cost even more than it already would to do so. It's gonna take at least a year, if not two, even on an expedited schedule, to get it in the air. And then he's only gonna be president for less than 2 years after that before he takes it and gives it to his presidential library. Or more likely, and you can feel free to quote me if I'm wrong, he's just gonna be flying around in it for the rest of his life. Let's just be clear about that. It's not gonna be sitting in a library. You're not gonna be touring it. He's gonna be flying around in it. But despite that, we might pay the better part of $1 billion for him to use it for a year or so before he takes it for his own personal use. And that just feels to me like, again, in the same way that the plane itself is the biggest bribe in world history, this is one of the most corrupt things I think I've ever seen a president do, JR. What do you think?
So is the plan, even if they found the way that people won't see where tons of money gets moved around because they think everyone's stupid, but even if that somehow was covertly shifted over here and they made all these renovations that was already talked about when this deal was made, this bribe plane was handed over to him, about how much it'll cost to retrofit it, make sure that it's safe and is not bugged and all the things that they're talking about. And suddenly it just pops out gold plated and now he's flying in it. Do they think no one's gonna say, so wait, you guys did retrofit this, right? Or did you not? And they say, yeah, I totally did, all brand new good stuff. Be like, where'd you get that money from? Like, somebody has to ask the question. So they think they can sneak it behind closed doors. No one will think, then pop out the airplane and no one will then ask. They're actually really bad at the con man stuff. They're bad at the lying, they're bad at the grifting, but the only reason they keep getting away with it is because people keep literally seeing what they're doing and going, I mean, I don't wanna ask. That'd be rude. They're only stealing our money. That's all.
I would love to know why it's considered unacceptable, impolite to assert that he should have to pay for the plane. Like, if you want to take it, why do you not have to pay for it? I don't understand that. Like, you can't accept like just $1,000 gift as a senator or whatever. You have to be, a president can, evidently Supreme Court justices can, but like there are limitations on that. He can take, in the end, $1 billion potentially from us, $500 million from the Qataris, and he doesn't have to pay a dollar for it. I will never understand why people don't see that as utterly corrupt as it is. That said, we do have to move to other corruption. There's too much to fit into a show, so let's jump now to this. Is this the most obvious insider trading in American political history? We're gonna give you the facts and I'll let you decide. It involves Republican Representative Mike Kelly, who you can see right here looking like Temu John McCain. And it's not actually him that did the insider trading, although he was necessary for it to happen. See, they've been investigating now for a number of years, a very suspicious trade. And in the report, which has now been released and effectively said, nothing to see here. That's what's so infuriating about this. Committee officials say that Kelly violated the House's code of conduct by failing to meet his duty of candor as they investigated his wife's decision to buy stock in a company that operated a local steel plant that was at risk of closing. So let's give you all the details on that trade. So Kelly's wife, Victoria Kelly, bought 5,000 shares of Cleveland Cliffs stock, which sounds like a sports team, for $23,000 or so. This is back in April 2020. That was the day after her husband was informed by his staff that Trump administration officials decided to take steps to implement tariffs on imports that could keep the company's 2 steel plants, including one in his district, open. Kelly's wife later sold her shares for $87,000, earning nearly 65 grand in profit. So, I don't know, more than tripling her investment, okay, in less than 1 year. A pretty nice little profit on that trade. She noted, it's a small part of my portfolio, so everybody should really get off her back. It doesn't matter if you do insider trading, if you're so fabulously wealthy that the insider trading is a small part of your overall trading. That doesn't actually make any sense to me, but that's the argument she's making here. Take a look at this chart, which shows when she bought the shares on the left and what ended up happening to the value of that stock in comparison to the specific part of the S&P that has to do with metals and mining industry. And so it drastically outperformed not only the overall market, but that specific industry. And she bought it immediately after finding out a crucial bit of information that was not available to you or I, that gave her an insider advantage in understanding what was likely to happen with that stock. Now, she declined to participate in an interview with this. She barely was involved in the investigation at all. She said that she cooperated with document requests as well as health concerns. So over the course of a multi-year investigation, she was sick the entire time, I guess, and could not participate in this. All of you peasants need to get off of her back, okay? She just made she just made, what you make in a year or two from the insider information her husband gave her. Why are you being so mean about the entire thing? And coming out of it, we're now done with this, by the way, basically. She's not going to jail for this. He's not going to jail. And he says, this investigation has unnecessarily lasted for nearly 5 years. My family and I look forward to putting this distraction behind us. It is just insider trading. He got information, she immediately acted on it. She tripled the value of her investment. How are they not in prison, JR?
Well, because they're not athletes, John. I was just thinking about this. We accept cheating from rich people who are politicians or spouses of politicians doing whatever the hell they want. And then their excuse really will be, don't bug me about this. Do you know who I am? But if you cheat in sports, which I think is a big enough deal because it's competition and money's being made and lots of money shifts hands. But if your name is Barry Bonds, Pete Rose, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, all those baseball players that cheated in different ways, maybe with like performance enhancement versus just gambling the way Pete Rose did, never to be forgiven. There's all kinds of controversy about how Pete Rose and Hall of Fame and everything. People are like vehement about it. Will stand on business based off of it. But over this, we'll move on when they're stealing money that you don't have access to being able to do yourself because you're not in the privileged class to do all this stuff. Why are we so hell-bent on these important issues of sports cheating, but we have no issue with actual money getting taken and spent in ways of manipulating markets because these guys have been put in positions by us voting certain people in office that then allows them to enrich themselves further. We're in such a backwards ass society. It's appalling how much we'll watch this happen and accept these types of excuses. Like, please get off my back, you peasants. What's wrong with you?
Remember, like when
imagine
Nancy
Barry Bonds would
Pelosi,
say that? What if Barry Bonds?
Oh no, 100%. Yeah. No, they'd have a problem with that. Nancy Pelosi was like all like defensive about limiting individual stock ownership. And then the Republicans were like, aha, we see an opening. Put us in charge and we'll actually get it done. And then they were put in charge and they didn't do it because they want to make the money. I mean, it's the most obvious thing in the world. These people they found a loophole. They get to cheat and make money, and they're not gonna give that up until they're forced to give that up. And for some reason, people, a lot of Democrats and basically every Republican voter out there is just perfectly fine with it, and they will do nothing to stop this.